Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Tuesday. Yep, June the 11th, 2019. And oh, wow, I just got a huge burst of energy in my right ear. The frequency just went up a notch. So I'm back again with my Gal Pal posse during the daytime, I might add, which is an added extra treat for us. We got BZ because of the heat out where she's at. And Lisa Flamino Rush. So yay! Lisa gets to be outside in the daytime in my beautiful yard, which is surrounding you. And we were talking about the colors behind you. And I love that. So thanks, ladies. BZ, I'm so glad that, I'm not glad it's really hot there, but I'm glad we could get you during the day. Believe it or not, it's really nice here in North Carolina today, which is a shocker for June 11th. Lisa is actually in a long sleeve sweater shirt and a sweater. So, it's not cold. You would think it was cold the way Lisa's dressed, but.
No, it's been chilly in the shade. It really has. Yeah. I'm just now getting sun, and it feels delicious. It hasn't chased my sweater off yet, so there you have it.
Yeah, it's nicer outside than it is inside here right now because I've got the air on and I'm in, very short sleeves. So anyway, so BZ's got something fun. Lisa and I don't have a clue as to what we're going to do here, really. And but you said raise your gaze from the mundane. What do you see? And actually, I actually did a little bit of that right before we hit record. Lisa's using my tablet, and I didn't notice it before when we were setting up to record, but right behind her, the trees, the lower portion of some of the trees were presenting as purplish to me. And so I have a feeling that this is sort of where you're headed with this, this little thing. And so is this sort of like a noticing game, BZ? Is that what?
It's a kind of a noticing game. It's noticing not only what you're seeing and tuning into it, but also noticing what you're, one way to say it is you're putting a lens filter on the projector of what you're seeing. And that's how you're doing that, by the groove or the rut or however you want to describe it that you're in. So I kind of talked about I did a little quantum playground this morning about, what emotion are you choosing to dance with? And so that would be another way to say this. But you just said before, we were getting ready, you were setting up, and so you were focusing on that. You weren't focusing on what was behind Lisa or any of that kind of stuff. And then the setup of changing the instrument which she was recording on almost made you get out of we're just setting up because the mundane, the routine moves of doing it, and you looked at Lisa and you looked at the picture. Right. So the setup, the whole presentation, and because that wasn't the mundane rote sort of things weren't your focus, you were able to see other things.
I'm so sorry. Apparently my tablet is updating and Lisa's getting a bunch of notifications because we just turned my tablet on. It will stop. I'm so sorry, BZ.
That's okay.
I think it's done now.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So that's just one example, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I really like this because, as you were speaking there about it, about the lens, Lisa and I were kind of drawn, a couple nights ago or whatever, to take a look at the movie National Treasure with Nicolas Cage again. I wanted to see it with my more expanded, consciousness. And because, there's a lot in that movie. And when you said that about lens, it made me think of, there's a part in the movie where there's a set of glasses that were ostensibly Benjamin Franklin's, and it has what actually it is 3 lenses. So and the moment you actually said that too, I was equating lenses with programming and conditioning as well. So when you say that, for me, it's a very multi-layered. That's why I saw the glasses immediately, because we actually have way more than just 1 or 2 lenses that at any given moment, I'm suspecting
absolutely,
that we have the opportunity to dance with, to use your terminology. And it is always a choice, even though, there are those who feel there's not a choice. That's a particular lens that I think that they're choosing to look through at that moment of now or then or whatever.
Right. Well, one way that I would describe it is that you always have the clearest, most expansive, most high definition lens on and available to you and functioning perfectly. You also have the potential to have a myriad of other lenses, overlaid, just like Benjamin glasses were reported to work there, where they're overlaid. So the reason I said is sometimes people say, well, oh gosh, I can notice things more often, or I'm seem to me having, magical powers, or I can see things that are disingenuous more clearly than I ever could before. And then all of a sudden they'll have a moment where something that's directly related to them, or oftentimes more personal because there's more attachment, they don't see as clearly. They can't, and they can even notice, well, wait a minute, but why am I having such a difference in the way I'm being able to perceive something, or navigate something, or look at something, or even just to kind of see clearly what visuals are presenting. Because in that respect, we've thrown on a layer or two that is of a mundane frequency. And mundane, you could also use, in the little box, this is the description of that word, is something that's rote, something that is not in the moment where you have an actual connection to it, but you're just kind of autopiloting it. In which case, your own programming that you have instituted, or that you have let others institute, and you've re-upped, you keep reaffirming that programming, or other more collective programming from the false construct, right? That, it's like the hinge is loose, and so it falls back down again, if that makes sense as a metaphor.
Yeah, and I actually saw a comment that I said to you right before we turned this on in that very light, actually. The comment about, oh, that person doesn't even know me. Okay. I see that now as that very same thing.
Yes.
It's so...
Hence my reaction to...
Yes. And for those who missed the whole thing, BZ asked Lisa to help me get a shovel to dig myself out of the groove, the rut that I was in. Right. No, I see that now. I don't know why I didn't. Yes, I do. I was about to say I don't know why I didn't. It was just a rote. It's a rote.
Yes.
It's a habit almost.
Right.
I knew.
Then in this game, it's playing the game where you are creating or widening or doing a regentrification on different grooves so that you can then switch those grooves. So if a groove falls down, it's just a variation of the fully functioning. It's already there. It's not like you have to learn to make this function. It's there. It's clearing away, have you ever put on sunglasses, you haven't worn them for a while, and you go, oh, it's a little dusty because they were sitting in your, bag or in the box in your car, or whatever it was, and so you breathe on them and you polish them off. It's the same kind of thing. You're just taking off what landed there from disuse, from not paying attention, from not noticing, or from jumping in other people's quagmires and rolling around.
Well, I like that a lot better than I got to slug through the healing process yet and again of something. So I like the idea of that. That feels so much lighter.
Well, you're whole. There is nothing to heal. It's only letting go of stuff. That's
right. I get that now. I didn't before, but I get that now. And I like that. I like that.
Me too.
So this is this is sort of like a game where so explain me.
Well, I'm waiting for explain me to go.
Oh, I see.
Totally as well. But yes, the thought was just to have a short conversation where we're playing with different things and looking at something. So you gave a good example in your question about they don't really know me. So when we're just talking about something, just in a plain conversation with someone, or if we're looking at something, how are we looking at it, and are we truly looking at it?
Well, I don't mind using that example if you think it's all right. I mean, sure. Okay. Well, I was sharing with BZ, and I don't even think Lisa was on because you were coming in from the tablet, so you didn't even hear this. I was sharing with BZ that on Sunday, I was sitting here at my desk, and I already had the information because Lisa had shared it with me that Taryn had put out about Heather, her latest check-in. And so I already had that information, but I was, scrolling the Facebook, seeing what's up in the collective. And I saw the post, the actual post, and it had Heather's picture on it. And I connected. See, I told you, there's something about me and seeing. So I already had the information, but as I saw her, I connected with her energy. And I knew it was her energy. And I even asked very quickly, I closed my eyes and I asked very quickly, Heather, is this you? And I got a yes. And she said, and how they talk in some of that other stuff about amplification, and the energy amplified. And when she said, yes, it's me, do you feel me? And I said, yes, I do. And it was my heart rate picked up, and I had this feeling of joy and connection. And I knew in that moment that I did, but when I said it to you, as is the habit, I said, and really, she doesn't even really know me, because when we were over there, it's like, I was just a face in the crowd. It wasn't somebody, a lot of folks think because we were there and all of that, but you corrected me right away. Yeah, because that's the only thing, right? But it was my habit to think in such a small way. But I knew with all of me, and I still know with all of me, that I connected with her and she with me.
Yeah.
And
right. And so in this, you gave what I actually said was yes, because it's just linear and it's akin to you being disconnected to yourself. So I'll get you a shovel so you can dig yourself out of that.
Yeah.
Kind of how the rest of the conversation went.
Yeah.
And what you're giving is a good example of how we don't trust ourselves. We don't, because we're looking for something outside. Well, someone might say, well, how do you know? Or because you know, and you're the expert for you. Well, how do you know that there is or isn't climate change? How do you know or you don't know that there isn't something cattywampus with the entire world? How do you know or you don't know that a certain report is full of lies and fabrications? You know, you can look outside yourself, but even if someone hands you something, if someone gives you a report and says, you, the person that they've just handed this to, has done X, Y, and Z, and there's proof. Do you go, well, gosh, I guess she got me, you know? Or do you go, what are you talking about? And that may seem like a little bit of an extreme thing, but we do that all the time. People are in the habit of doing that all the time. And what's evident of that amplification of that training and those ruts and grooves is that when they're told, you're not missing anything, or you are fabulous and amazing and have incredible powers, you go, nah, you know. In fact, there's not a lot of beings who will give it much thought or credence right in the moment, although a lot of them will eventually come around to that, and it's this blinding flash of insight where they are meeting themselves. And they are awash with this, and it's unmistakable. And no matter how much they squirm or try to keep looking at, you know, the chaos and the garbage and the mundaneness around them, it's irrefutable. And that's where we all are now. So that's kind of the idea of this sort of game and short discussion is, you know, what is it that you're seeing? What's the first thing at first that comes to mind when you look at something, and how are you listening to it? So what I'd like to do is share the screen, and I just was directed to kind of pick a couple of these different things, and I just want your first reaction when you look at something. So you see it?
Yep.
Okay, and then I'm going to get rid of it. No, stop that. So what's the first thing that comes to mind when you saw that?
The joke.
Yeah.
For me, it was the joke. Why did the chickens cross? Sorry. Yes.
The chickens in the street.
I mean, honestly, that was the first thing that came to mind, was the joke about chickens crossing the road. But I saw a lot of stuff, a lot of data flooded in all at the same time. That was the very first thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Lisa, basically that was the same too for you?
Yeah, I guess.
And go ahead.
Well, I could almost visualize a story. If you ask the why and sit with it for just a minute, one will show up.
Okay.
Well, so yeah, there was a lot.
The chicken story?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of data in that picture. Because I also noticed that it was the largest chicken, which was the cock in the back. So it looked like he was escorting, you know, his brood across the street. So that, I mean, it was a beautiful background. I mean, there was a lot of information in that picture.
Right.
But honestly, the first thing was, you know, why did the chicken cross the road?
Right. So that
would family to the other side. That's
right. And that's what I'm saying. So given the setup, right? This wasn't, you just didn't come across the picture button. So given the setup,
right.
Yet and again, that was, instead of looking at the picture, connecting with the picture and the data and saying, oh, I see this or that, or there's 4 chickens, or, you know, whatever it could have said, it was a handed line, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. The joke about why did the chicken, which is a conditioned joke that everybody knows, right?
Right. Okay, so now what I'd like to do, I think we'll do a bunch of them, just the first look, so quick and then back, and then we'll go back, okay, and look at them.
Okay.
So let's see. As soon as I find the folder. Okay.
Wow. There was a lot in that one for me. You know, I've just started this tarot channel, so that made put me in mind of some of my tarot cards. Facing fears and looking at the unknown and flying into it regardless because it looked sort of stormy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
So for me, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you noticed, Lisa?
It felt really mystical. It was the unknown. The bridge to nowhere, but the now here. I don't know, sort of the sort of infinite. I don't know. Deep.
Yeah, and do you notice that there's a different characterization, or I think more apt to say, a different part of your being saw that picture than did the first one?
Yeah, sure.
You may not be totally unfocused from the mundane, but at least you're looking, you know, instead of your head right down to mundane, you're looking up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because these were things where there's a different, another way I would describe it is there's a different voice that is giving voice to what you're seeing. It's a little bit more inclusive of all of your process instead of just off the top of your head, or reaching back into the archives of kind of mundane rote one-liners and descriptions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, true. The first thing that I was thinking in regards to the differences between the two for me is, well, anytime I'm reading tarot, I sit with the card for a bit and allow it to reveal itself. And what we're doing here is very quick.
Yeah.
And so, but I can see the difference because the chickens are, like you said, they're more of a mundane kind of, it wouldn't necessarily be considered mundane if given the chance to experience it, either as they're crossing the road or, you know, gazing at the picture for longer than we did. But
Mm-hmm.
I love what you're doing here because it's actually, for me, gives me the opportunity to sorry for that. We've got some loud neighbors.
The hot rodders.
Giving me the opportunity to see that, you know, just because it's quick doesn't necessarily mean that my brain has to quickly, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's something to there for that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do another one.
Me. I
That
got
makes
me.
me think of the toroidal field.
That's why I said me.
My little Merkaba.
Yeah.
My energy factory.
Right. Did you get, other than just recognizing the shape, did you get any other sense or something come to you beyond that?
The colors now, for me, like I'm starting to associate color to frequency more, where I used to could feel it more a sensory sort of experience, and now I'm adding color to that. And so when I saw the color, it made me feel a distinction between frequency resonance. So that stood out to me as well, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, the differing colors denoted the multidimensionalities of me. I mean, I kind of took that in. I felt it as myself, and the differing of the colors pointed in for me to the multidimensionality of all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that was a representation for me, not just of me personally, but all of us and the universe and all of existence as a whole, depending on which expanded lens you want to look at it through. And specifically, those colors felt like different dimensions, densities, you know, that sort of thing for me.
Cool. Okay, we're going to do another one.
Ooh. I want to look at that one longer.
We'll get to that in a minute.
That was a blending of two worlds for me. There was two full separate worlds coming together to create one scene.
Cool.
That was fun. I like that one.
And when you looked at it, when you're saying that, how would you describe what was there a partition so that they blended? So how would you describe that, kind of the way that your brain was thinking about that?
Well, I saw what were boundaries but not boundaries of the different, well, the elements of the air and the water was one, but there's also a holographic feel to the water and the air and the richness that they both contained, and also becoming one, because as you know, water contains the air as well.
Right.
It was just, I don't know, there was just a real depth to it of realizing the coming together of two worlds is what I saw. And I wanted to explore each world. Like, yeah, I don't like the flashing either.
That's okay. for this part of the exercise, it's a good thing, because you're giving voice to, in the very short time that it was there. I mean, if I went back and wrote down what you just described, that's quite a rich description. And by your saying, so to say, you didn't get but a flash to look at it. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
Which is denoting for people, if they're listening, that you're actually connecting with what's going on and stepping out of your linear brain, which plays the mundane, you know, all the time. And the other thing too is, if some people, I think of, or I can feel them already caught onto this, and some haven't yet. But the mundane is what we make it. It's not that something is mundane or not. It's how we choose to meet it and greet it and play with it as to whether it makes it mundane or not. So that'll put a whole new perspective, a whole new visual, a whole new seeing capability on the supposed purported mundane stuff in your life if you encounter it in a different way. So Sheila, what did you see in that one?
Well, I actually saw I saw 3 of the 4 elements depicted there. because of all the coral, I also associated the earth element in there as well as the air and the water, same as Lisa. And the desire to explore that more, because obviously the coral is life in and of itself, and water being the life blood, so to speak, of everything on this planet. And such a really cool picture to begin with the wave coming over like that. I don't know, there was an awful lot in that picture depicting the beauty of the planet, first of all, in any given moment.
Yeah.
And all of the life upon it, regardless of where it's located or what it's doing, which changes for me. It's because the moment I saw that, and I'm glad that you actually brought that up in the way that you did just before, because as you were speaking about the way you greet it now, I can very clearly see that program conditioning in my answer in regards to the chickens, because given a little more time, again, there's the beauty of the feathers on a chicken and all of that. So it is that greeting, the way that we're choosing to embrace was the word that wanted to come out, but engage is the word that I was really wanted to say, that we choose to engage with any and everything,
right,
as it presents. And it's really very clear in this moment with this game for me, just how much our conditioning that, I've even continued to perpetuate upon myself, knowing that I've been programmed, knowing that I allowed myself to be conditioned. There's still some conditioning that I even perpetuate. I just showed that in my comment about, well, I don't think she knows me. So it's, even when one is aware, there's still,
and the title's kind of a lead you by the nose title too.
Yes.
Right.
So cleanup on aisle 3 is in order for wiping away some of these things.
Raise your gaze from the mundane. And so already the setup is you're on the mundane, you're focused. So it's a lot of the way that you'll see titles in a lot of newspapers or video things where it's reversed. They're highlighting different things and your brain is taken there. And so only if you will go there instantly unless you meet something right and engage with it instead of being led into something. And it doesn't matter whatever the piece is that you're encountering, is someone talking or a live person right next to you, or whatever it is. Each moment you're present with something and you are the arbiter of how you perceive it and encounter it and engage with it. And that arbitration, that skill, that whole history is formed in the instant that you meet it, not because it's a patterning or grooving of mundane stuff prior to. Does that make sense? I mean, that's now how we naturally work. That's one of our natural superpowers.
So if I understood you correctly, and I want to make sure I did, it's already within us to encounter things in a particular sort of way. And it goes back to focus and attention, doesn't it? Okay, so I'll just speak for myself. If I have, because like I said, I'm aware that I've been programmed. I'm aware that I am conditioned. Fully understand that I allowed all that. And because I'm aware of it, well, it is now fully my responsibility. Accountability and liability goes in there too, to not guard, but stay on top, be present with my focus and attention in all moments of now.
Mm-hmm.
If you aren't consciously directing your energy, someone else is.
Which is what you meant by the headlines or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that grabs someone and pulls them in.
Yes, and so people can see that if they disagree with the headline, but they go and watch, read, engage with anyways. But that's easier for them to see. But they don't see it if they agree with it already, because they're not meeting something, connecting with something, engaging with something. It's a reality. It's an energetic envelope right there in that moment. They have stepped into that. And they are engaging. They're multidimensional. This is not just a one static thing. Nothing is. It's all frequency. Nothing is static. We just have the thought and perceive it to be. And we are now learning a more accurate, a more true perception, which is our original. We're original. So we are going back to all that, and that's becoming evident in tangible ways.
Yeah, I have to say yes in a big way to that. Over the last, well, week and a half, really, I guess. I recall my conversations with you in regards to, well, we all know Sheila didn't get it when we were talking about frequencies, about being able to recognize frequency signatures. And I'm beginning to, in particular in writing, okay, like any kind of writing. And I'm beginning to feel like I recognize that now. I guess partly due to the cleaning or wiping of some dust from the old lenses or whatever, but so that's kind of what you're speaking to right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about something that I've been doing a lot lately, which is tuning into that part of me that is like an infant, where you're not planning stuff and you're not punching a time clock, so you're just in the moment, and every moment is brand new and magical. Everything is a total learning experience. And so I've been trying to walk through the mundane as an infant, just holding that conscious focus and attention that I am encountering everything I am encountering for the first time, because honestly, I mostly did not walk through those mundane experiences conscious at all. And so it truly is the first time that I'm working consciously. And so it's super easy to take on the baby mentality that everything is brand new, because it truly is when you meet it for the first time with, full consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just I'm going to make a note here. There's another conversation that Sheila was laughing at me when I wrote it. It's the end of the list here. It's about your vulnerability and true innocence, which is what you're speaking of. And I cited a Bible verse in there What it's doing is, we can do that one another time, but it's giving us a roadmap for just what you're speaking of. Because in there is nothing but the moment that you're in. There is no past, present, and future. You know, and so everything is new in the moment, and you see and meet it, encounter, engage, connect with, flow with, create with, co-create with everything in that moment, and you reveal to all the components to each other what is going on. So what happens is, because we've been uber linearized, and that was intentional and part of the process, because it's very easy to control beings that are uber linearized, because they have to look, well, what happened in the past, you know, right? And how am I going to look at that? And if something bad happens, scary happened, I'm feeling it might happen again, so I'll shy away from it. Well, cool. And that, again, if you're just thinking of how to try to trigger and route something, someone, or behaviors, then these are all very helpful, very brilliant, and self-perpetuating, which makes them brilliant, because it's a lot less elbow grease. You know, if you get them doing it for themselves, hey, you can go kick back on the chaise lounge, because, you know, look at them, they're all running around, right? So what we're realizing is that first of all, there's a moment, and we're in it, and it holds all wondrous things if we've only to notice and engage with. And we always have had, and always will, this capability, this superpower. It's only our choice that wants to pull the shade down, or lots of layers on top of it, you know, dirty sunglasses kind of thing. So let me show you one last image here.
Who wants to go first? I'll go first.
Okay.
What I got in my head immediately was chaos. And I don't mean the kind of chaos everybody freaks out about, because just before creation, there's chaos. And so for me, that's and I want to say that came straight from my most expanded self.
Yep.
And I know that. Wow. And it makes me want to cry.
Yes, and when being directed for that particular image, that was exactly, you know, if you wanted to say the note that I was passed, the directive that I was given, exactly what you said.
Wow, it's going to take a second, because that felt huge for me for some reason, to get it in that fashion. And it also, this entire conversation, I see the beauty of this in this moment. I felt led to look at what I guess is a 3.5 hour movie over the weekend. Lisa and Albert and I saw Cloud Atlas. And I think it was in preparation for this conversation, in this moment of now. I really feel like that.
Wow. Oh, and so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a lot of electrical communication. There was a lot of data. And it was excited. I felt excitement and full on transparency, like all the data was there, nothing left out. And that what we were seeing was a tiny, tiny piece of a synopsis, or, you know, like that electrical jump where information takes place, and there's the what you already know being grown by the new information, and the excitement of that and the growth that represents, it felt very exciting.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I like to describe this as a flash of insight, because it's insight. It's already in your sight, it's already in your knowing and your sensing, and when it flashes quickly sometimes, and we're looking at them quicker, one of the reasons I was instructed to do it this way is because it breaks, it snaps that mundane shutter open for a minute. If something is drawn and it's just quick, especially after the first one, you go, well, wait a minute, she's only going to show up for a minute. We got to actually, right? So now there's more of a meeting the image instead of, labeling, hence, reaching back into the why the chicken crossed the road thing. So here's another thing that I just want people to play with for a moment in that goes with all of this conversation and the bigger conversation, about transparency, about all things being hidden, being revealed, about disclosure of all sorts, and so many beings who might describe themselves as light workers or spiritual aware, all that kind of stuff, and wanting to meet other beings, wanting to meet, their galactic families, wanting to, some people talk about seeing angels and all those kinds of things, right?
Yes.
So playing with this and releasing the mundane and looking up from that, this allows your ability to see. First of all, you're seeing the truth of who you are in every one of these pieces of the game that we've played with. Because, one of you said it, I think it was Sheila, where it was the microcosm of and macrocosm of the what's the place of the holographic nature of the wave picture, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're in all of this. We're source, which means that we're in everything. And if we don't label something but yet encounter it and connect with it, commune with it, engage with it, have an aliveness, and are enlivened and enliven each other by each connection, it changes everything. Because then you have all the data. It's always been there, but now you can see it. You can avail yourself of it. You can interact with it, co-create with it, and it can open up new vistas for you to see. People say, well, I want to have my superpowers or all these kinds of things. You got them already.
You said something very important just then for me, in that, of course, this is going to be coming up in lots of conversations, I feel. Part of our programming and conditioning was absolutely, and still is, the propensity to assign labels to things. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things, and it's everywhere. Names are also labels.
Yep.
Propensities, proclivities, everything has a label, and we've been told, taught, whatever, come up with that this is that and here's why. And it's been very ingrained in all of us. And this, for me, is this little game that you brought forward here shows me that we have to let those labels go. They were handed to us. We allowed it. I'm not going to sit here and say we didn't, because I still do it too, labeling things. But by allowing something to present, no matter what it is, doesn't matter what it is, a chicken, a rainbow, It doesn't matter what it is, but we have each label, and that goes right on up to the biggies that everybody wants to turn around and label, comes with an entire set of thoughts and, in a lot of cases, incorrect thinking. Oh, wow, this feels so huge to me. And that we just have to let go of now. It's time to allow those to wash away.
Right. Because so much in that labeling has also intentionally been co-opted. So a lot of beings now are waking up, and whether they're looking at Pizzagate and symbols and this, that, and the other thing, and they're seeing symbols that have been co-opted that are actually geometrical symbols that have a huge, unending, unlimited, true meaning in the frequency energy. And because, well, I'll say that, they're feeling awake, they're feeling smart, they're feeling, oh, I can see that now, that's a bad thing. Well, there's another hidden in plain sight. There's another programming right now, because what better way to misdirect you and get you away from broader frequency-based pictorial symbols, we'll say, in linear language, and think that it's bad because you've woken up to unarguably bad stuff, right?
Right.
Without realizing that that's ancient and has been co-opted. In fact, from the very beginning, that was designed, because as you get revealed, and they've always known that this is the case. This is not something new. This is part of the whole game. They always knew that this would come to this moment in time. And what better way to have another last stopgap measure is when, the jig is up and we see your thing. So anything that looks like this, anything that has similar things, any symbol, any thought, then we can get them to turn on each other, because if someone else uses that, knowing the full expansive meaning of that,
right,
then it's easy to throw around Satanist or this or that or the other thing.
Right. Well,
without meaning the energy frequency of that being in that particular, not everyone, not the symbol, but that's what I'm talking about. In that moment you meet it. And that's how how do people feel that they're going to meet people from other planets, other worlds, other dimensions, other everything, if we're going around and we're not meeting anybody, we're just meeting a bunch of crap that's on our windshield, and we're not truly even meeting ourselves? How many people out there have met themselves and said, wow, hey, and trusted it and loved themselves?
You're absolutely right about that. I'm still meeting myself all the time. I'm still just getting to know myself. So you're absolutely right about that. And
but the more that you do that, the more you can meet in another. So it enriches all by you focusing on you, which sounds funny, but it's true. It all begins right here.
And as you said that, Lisa, what came in my ear is, the cosmic humor is that each one of us are the galactic family and all sorts from the purported future.
Yeah.
If you can't meet yourself in your own body, in your own house, in your own chair, then you're going to have a hell of a lot of trouble meeting somebody else out there. Because you know what? They're one and the same.
No, absolutely. And that's why I have to say, for anyone that hasn't seen that movie, Cloud Atlas, that's a very expansive movie, or it was for me. And it's
a little multi-dimensional.
It's very multi-dimensional, and
slipping the locks, changing you up, going, okay.
Yes, it is. It's very multi-dimensional, and
at the start you either get it and love it, or you go, why did I just waste 3 hours looking at that? But it percolates.
You not be able to watch it.
Yeah, it percolates through. Let me just show you this. there's one
Okay,
last
go
thing
ahead.
I've been nudged to show you this.
Okay. Oh yeah. I love that. It's the frequencies. And I almost feel like if you can grok the color with the frequency, that's how we'll travel through our dimensions at will, because you'll feel and emanate the frequency that matches the place you wish to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think at first you kind of have to grok that, what each thing is. Oh, I love it.
Well, the first thing that I got in that was connection. Frequential, definitely, but the connection between beings, because I realized that we are all one, yes, but I also feel very much as though the entire exercise, the entire, I don't know why all of this is really, I guess because it's a full-on knowing of stuff that's really, it's like it seems to be very emotional for me. It's a full-on recognition of the fact that we also are, we're singular and yet not. And that's been the whole reason that we, I know a lot of folks have called this a game, but the whole exercise of coming all the way over into the physical and linear and in one way or another being very I'm using the word cut off, although I know we weren't. We cut ourselves off in a specific sort of manner. And I know from the least expansive point, things were done to us to aid that cutoff. But in the most expansive point, we set it up that way for a reason, for a purpose. I feel that very, very hugely in these moments specifically. And for crap's sake, everybody needs to get a grip on themselves and realize exactly how powerful we are, that we actually did allow that. And now we're coming back to realizing that we allowed it, and that not only did we survive it, but that we are capable of it, to be able to be part of the all and sit in a singularity container and not feel when somebody else scrapes their leg. Oh my God, that's a miracle in and of itself right there.
Yeah, and we rocked it, man.
Did we ever?
Yes, that's another, bit of a cosmic humor, is that we are so magnificent and we forgot completely, and we're waking up and we are teaching by our example, by how far we've gone, how many walls we banged into, blew up, fell on our head, however you want to use the euphemism of the pain and destruction that we've caused to ourselves, never mind everyone else. That we have brought that expansion to all the other beings in all, because we are all one and singular. Yeah. So in the one hand, you read different things, well, they're not in linear and they're not in three-dimensional, and although we've never been with all the murder and stuff because that's fourth dimensional, but it's another topic. But all watching all of that, right, it has, they have had experiences through all the things that we, in the telemetry that we give back, not only directly to source, but all others can avail themselves to Akash and everything else, that there has been enormous expansion because of that. So yes, on the one hand, you could say from a very constricted linear, this experiment, this game went way off the rails and, into a huge cluster, right? On the other hand, you could say, yeah, this experiment went way off the rails into this huge cluster of the most amazing, gigantic, fabulous proportions. Look at the expansion, not only for the beings who were right there on the front lines, but all in Source's multiverses. And this has set up an explosion of love and an explosion of incredible passion and inspiration and insight and creativity that is reverberating and will for eons as we create more.
Absolutely. Wow, BZ.
That was nice.
That the title is not a dead giveaway as to what this is, what this little game of yours was here. Not a dead giveaway at all. I hope. Wow, man.
Thank you.
We like to be subtle.
Yes.
It's nuanced title, Sheila.
Well, you know me, not much with the nuance.
I know.
Just saying.
Love you, darling.
Well, I'm so glad because I'm learning how to meet things with a new way.
How delicious.
Well, this has been one hell of a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Do either one of you have anything you'd like to add here?
Oh, thanks for playing.
Yeah, man. All right. Well,
just read below.
Another
yeah.